welcome back, fellow maybe want to be raiders, casuals who don't want to be shit. Whatever your reason is for following through with this series, I hope you're now starting to reap the benefits. I know that thousands of you are. You've been in contact with me. Thumbs up. We had a little kind of break just to point out that the reason we're doing this is obviously big confidence, so you can do whatever the hell you want in WoW without being sheepish and afraid. But now we're turning it up a notch. We're going to look at logs. Okay, so logs are tricky. I would estimate somewhere in the region of the low percentage of people use logs in the right way. And I would estimate a high number of people, a high percentage, think that logs are super try-hard, over the top, well too far in terms of things to do with a game. Both are... partially right, yeah, this is excessive stuff now. But it's excessive for all the right reasons. I don't want to overburden people, so what we're going to do today is actually show you how you use logs to your advantage. Okay? It's not about like how to dig down into absolutely everything. Like, it gets real petty and it'd probably be a 40-minute video. What I want to do is show you how you use logs to make yourself better, present yourself better. Like the first time you're going to apply to a guild, how to show logs that say, this is why I am the fucking king. Because that's what you want to do. But it's tricky. It's real tricky. Recently, there was a thread on MMO Champion that was looking to replace Raider.io with something that was based on Warcraft logs. Instantly, the people who understand how logs work said that is a terrible, terrible idea. Because the people who go for things like all-star points and stuff, often if you want to do that, and you'll understand this shortly, you actually have to do terrible things, absolutely terrible things. But at the same time, you kind of want your name in lights, and your name in lights is being number one on the scoreboard and stuff. So we're going into some cool stuff that what I want you to walk away from this video with is not like some sort of scientific wizardry on how to break down every single percentile of WoW. That's too much. It's too much for me. It's too much for most of you guys. It's how to say, hey, look, this is why I'm great in straightforward language. And also how to show this to people who are bad at logs. Like I said, most people are terrible at logs and use them for all the wrong reasons. Is to actually show them a little bit of education. And believe me, if you go into a guild app and someone calls out your logs and you come back and say, actually, if you check here, here, and here, and you can link a web page that like shows this information, then you're just going to be a free walk into any guild. You're just going to be able to walk in. It doesn't matter whether it's alpha, normal mode, heroic, mythic, whatever. You'll be able to just fucking stroll in. I hope nobody ever asked for logs for alpha. That was a silly thing to say. Let's go. All right, let's get into this. So the whole purpose of what I'm about to show you is I guarantee you that if you can do what I'm about to show you, you're going to walk into any guild you want pretty much and solve all the problems that you have by living in the pug world, living in the heroic world. Even if you want to apply as a casual who occasionally will join in with some runs just so you can have some Mythic Plus to do with people or join some off raids. This is how you do it because you're about to demonstrate that you're better than the average bear. Because as I said in the intro, a lot of people don't know how to use logs. They see it as a really advanced damage meter. And the reason for that is you will reach the stage of knowledge where, despite the fact that Blizzard have done amazingly well with balancing specs, that you realize that a mage versus a DK isn't a fair comparison. Right? You know, like a priest versus a warrior is not a fair comparison. You're doing different things. Your classes work in different ways. And despite the balancing efforts, they're always going to be different. And the only way you can really compare yourself is with other mages or the priests or you have to have the same spec. Now, in Legion, that's a little wonky in and of itself. There's a huge amount of RNG. I'm going to show you that shortly. And also, Titan Forging. Some people just very quickly, especially when the gear resets, like a new season of gear, people are going to get lucky. People are going to pick up like Aman'Thuls very early, and you're going to be competing against guys who naturally do more damage than you and are more healing or even tank better than you, purely because they have better gear, which makes the whole thing a little wonky, but it still doesn't mean that this stuff is irrelevant. It's just something you should be aware of. So this is what most people want this, like this. Like right as of today, as of recording this, I'm the rank 1 mage in the world for Garathi World Breaker Normal. Woo! I'd love to be happy about this. I used to care about this kind of stuff. I don't anymore because it was pure RNG. Pretty much, I just got lucky. Once you know how to play your class, then in Legion, a lot of it, for most specs, comes down to whether or not other random factors happened for you. So let me show you exactly what I mean by this. If we can go to analyze.
This is from today, so somebody will beat this tomorrow or something. Click on me. And what we could do here is, this is what I did during this fight, okay? So, first of all, what is a log? Let's talk about that before we get too far into this. What is a log? Basically, you have the combat log button on your screen at all times, right? And it's usually a scrolling stream of information that you don't pay attention to. Most people don't bother. They just leave it on their chat box. But you can write this information, and Blizzard does this as well. This is how they check things out. Just to notepad files. Like, it's done automatically. I'll link a guide down below of how you set up logs, because everybody can record their own. It doesn't wreck your system or anything. And basically, you upload this giant notepad document to the website like this, and it just picks out all the information. It presents it to you in a nice, easy way. And from this information, we can extrapolate everything that happened in a fight. Now, this is important because everything is logged now. Pretty much. It's how most people are getting caught out when they're buying runs. You know those people that are buying runs? One sec. The people who like buying runs and bragging about it that I talked about recently, this is how they're getting caught out, because it's so easy to record a log. And people enjoy it so much that nearly every raid in WoW is logged in one form or another. This is from my viewer raid today. Like, someone logged it just so they could see whether they did well, because they just wanted to test what's going on. You see, my boy Javid actually did it from my guild. He just logged it to see, just to record what happened. Why not? Maybe something cool happens. Maybe I get a high rank or whatever. Or maybe something weird happens and I want to find out what's happening. So to prove why my log is bullshit and not impressive, I wish it wasn't, but it is. You can see, if you click on buffs of your own play, like, so this is me. You can see I've selected me here, and click on buffs. As you can see, we did what we did in the damage cooldown stacking video. This is the timeline of the fight, right? So this is the buffs I got during the fight. So you can see the stuff I control, which is like Rune of Power, Combustion, Bloodlust, Time Warp, Potion. Oh, you can see they're all stacked on top of each other. See that here? But what you can also see is the stuff that I have absolutely no control over whatsoever. It's completely down to the game whether I have it. All happened to happen during those buffs. That was it. So you can see I got Braces procs, which are very important for a fire mage, which I also got above average amount of them overall through the fight. I got 12 in total, which is crazy. And my Concordance and Legion Fall just happened to proc during these periods of time. So I had Combustion with Concordance, and then as soon as I did it again here, you can see where I bloodlusted myself and had Rune down, it happened again. And it was just pure bullshit. It's total bullshit. This is why I don't enjoy it anymore, because I had no control over that. It just happened to happen. And there's nothing I can do to influence it. But this is what most people want to see. They want to be able to go to the screen and click rankings. So if we go to Grathi, Worldbreaker, and Normal, and see their name in lights at the very top, this is what a lot of people would love to see. I find a lot of people who don't like this stuff, who aren't into it, they if it happened, they would be over the moon. And great for them, great for them. I'm just showing you why in Legion it's not a very good thing. It's one of the things I hope they fix with BFA. But let's say, now most average guilds would be more than happy with that. It's like, I'm the rank 1 mage in will be. Your average guild who doesn't really know how to use logs, that might be enough to get you through, but that's also very hard to get because it relies on extreme gear and also a total load of RNG. That's not useful for us. It's not useful. Like I think a lot of people try and get a high rank or all-star points, which are very dangerous to push for, purely because they think that's what's going to get them over the hump, or whatever they perceive to be the hump, and it's not the case at all. In fact, you don't need to do any of this to actually get over that hump. What we can actually do is do something like this. What if I showed you this log? All right. What if I showed you this log of Varimathras Mythic? Oh my god! It's the worst player in the universe. Holy shit, worst player. Worst player ever, right? Okay, so what's going on here then? So this is Varimathras Mythic, and as you can see, I'm like near the bottom. That's a healer, by the way. Big Tilt is a holy paladin. I'm like just above the healer. And the rogues are down here too. In fact, everybody had a really wonky log, besides my boy Paramond, who was popping off. But everybody else, pretty shitty. So what's happening here? Did everybody die at some point? Well, let's check. Let's click deaths. Now, I saw recently on MMO Champion, a guy who was dying all the time and didn't know why. Now, you can pull this from the details damage meter that I recommended you guys got, but in a log, you can get a perfect view of it. But you can see here, yeah, a lot of people died at the very end, but it was at the very end, so that wouldn't account for these wonky numbers. What's going on? Did somebody get a lot of debuffs? Ah, maybe that was it. So the main debuff in this is Necrotic Embrace, and we can break this down. we can check what's going on here, and we can track the debuff all the way through and see what's going on with it, which is really cool. If we click on Necrotic Embrace, we can actually see who got the most. So we can see Toei got a lot right at the end of the fight. So you can see these, you can actually see when they got it. So in fact, Toei got it once there. In fact, no, it's not that bad. That's weird. Most people got it at the end when they went for the Zerg kill. Huh. So Pirwin was actually the ultra. Pirwin and Azuriel were the ultra victims. They got it 3 times, right? 1, 2, 3, and then it was at the end where it was a cock up. And this is how we break down these information. It's super obvious and super clear when you look at it, right? Is that you can click on these things and figure out what's going on. And you can't mess this up either because you can always reset it. If you get lost in this, don't worry about it. Anyway, let's go back. Let's go back to this one. So it was lucky this fight happened because I talked to the TDP about this fight and how much I hated doing what I had to do here. And it's an ad fight. So in many occasions, and you come across them all the time, is people talking about ads and how much they dislike having to switch, or people saying they switched and didn't, but you can't really figure it out from a damage meter rawly how that happens. Because what it'll generally do is this. If we look at damage taken, right, and we change it from friendlies to enemies, right, we can see the ads. Here we are. And what we could do is we could mouse over that. And what we can clearly see is I did a huge amount of damage to the ads. You can see that just below there. It says Source, Lester was the top, the rogue, then me below. Now it sort of makes sense. I was clearly focused on killing the ads. So we're starting to build a picture now of what actually happened. And this is, again, something that you can show when you apply. It's like, look, this is the kind of jobs I was doing. If we click on that, it shows all this information, which is like all the individual spells. That's no good. But, ooh, what's this up here? Taken from ability. What about taken from source? There we go. Now it shows the players who was doing a lot of damage to the ads. Cool. Cool. Very nice, right? That's useful in some way. Now, this might blow your mind, but it's actually one of the simplest ways of checking stuff. This shows the individual ads, and sure, we can pull information from this, but most of this is like an overall, right? It's like all the ads combined together. They all have the same name, so it just says Shadow Varamathras. Shows when we killed the ads, but it's not that useful. In fact, at the end, there was a lot of ads up, so there's quite a lot of padding going on there. So the overall damage meter is very skewed. Because of this end phase where all the ads spawned. Like, we know in our heads when we did this fight, it's like, oh my god, a lot of ads spawned at the end, and a lot of people did almost double the amount of damage that was going on just in the last part alone, which will throw all this out of whack. Watch this. Some people don't know this exists. It's amazing. Watch this. Replay. Now, don't be freaked out. Don't be freaked out. This is great. So this is the replay. This is the room. This is Varamathras' room. Yeah, and watch. We can scroll through it and we can actually watch the position of each player. We can click on them and we can see what they casted previously, buffs they had, debuffs they had, the whole shabazz. And we can see the raid moving over like you would on Varamathras. Most of you have done it now. Isn't this cool? Isn't this awesome? We can see them get the debuffs. They got necrotic. So when you have people say things like, I thought I had necrotic and didn't, you can clearly see they moved out. Yeah. If we reverse time a little bit, so they're in the raid. There's the raid. Then Necrotic came in, and we can see that they both all moved together. And then they spread out, and you can mouse over these and get their names. And you can see the debuffs that are attached to their tag. You can see the 2 people with Necrotic. Then they gave Necrotic to the tank. And then the tank came in. And then he moved out. Why? Because he spawned an ad. And there it is. Now, what you could do is click it. Yeah. We can click it. And we can break down... Oh, we've lost it. We can break down exactly who damaged it. Because you can see the green bars, its health. So we click on it. Now we see exactly who was damaging it. So when you want to figure out what you can very quickly do, because you can do something called live log, right? Which, again, the guide will be down below for this, is you can upload these as they're happening so you can check them immediately, right? So when you just have suddenly an ad that didn't die, right? An ad that didn't die is you can physically... Let's say this ad didn't die. You can physically click on it and say, okay, well, who damaged it? Right? How did this ad survive, which wiped us? What happened? And you can scroll through very quickly and see what happened to it. Not only that, you can see what was cast at it. So we could say things like, well, Azuriel wrathed it and Lunastriked it. Cool. And then you can actually see who did what to it. What did Evans do? Rampaged it. Awesome. That's pretty good. And then he committed. Did anybody not appear on this list? Right? And you can see, did it do any healing? Did it get healing received? Right? Did it do any damage? Damage taken by damage taken. Ooh, I'm going the wrong way. This is based on what it did. Right? So that adds, because it's got no damage taken, it didn't do anything. Right? It literally was killed before it could cast anything. And this is how we check this very easily. And it also allows you to individually click on things and show this. Because you can just link this web page, right? You can just link this web page and say, well, look, there's my movement and stuff. You can see how I reacted to things. You could watch it in the replay. You could say things like, if you skip to blob 4 minutes and 2 or whatever, you could see exactly what happened without any issue whatsoever. And it's very clear that you can demonstrate what you did. And that's super important because it's very easy to do. All I did was go to this web page and click replay. That's it. I was there within one click. It's not something that takes a lot of time. And this is the kind of thing that takes, realistically, it takes like 5 minutes to log yourself, get set up, do a fight, and be able to then pick out why you were doing the fight in a certain way. And if you put this into like a guild app, or you show it to friends, or you're struggling with a raid and not sure what's going on, you could super easily figure it out by just mousing over it in the most simple way possible. This replay function, I think, is amazing because it basically shows, in most cases, you can see how many debuffs went out then. Oh my god, we all got it. And there was ads everywhere. You can see these ads have all popped up all over the place. But Varimathras had like no health left. He had 2% HP left. And people started to die. You see the deaths? And then you can see, go through it. Click on Nupsy here. You can see what he did. Yeah? And we can figure it out very quickly what actually happened to him. We can see the damage taken. And we can click on Nups and we can see what happened is all these things hitting at once. And you can get the death logs and all that kind of stuff without having, you can see the progress of the raid as well. This is all just built into a text file that you can very easily get yourselves. The big thing with this, though, is it's enormous. And what logs is enormous. It is. It's absolutely huge. You can go anywhere. You can look at all kinds of crazy stuff, figure out what's going on. But it takes some messing around with. That's the only problem with it. And that's why doing a kid-sized video could take upwards of an hour or so. But what I want you guys to do is to be able to use the replay function mainly. The replay function and how to find damage to things like ads. Right? And how to find function. Let's go to another one, actually. And very quickly show. Now, I'm always a victim of people who don't know how to use logs trying to use logs against me. And it's... It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny because my logs are all public, as you can see here. These are all my logs. Is that you can very quickly figure out what's going on. Let's go to Portal Keeper. So Portal Keeper is a big one. Let's click on the replay function. So one of the jobs I have here and I'm assigned to is actually going and getting the green thingy. So you can see that I go over. Now, one thing I could say, I can criticize myself here, which is awesome, actually. I want to do that. Is I'm late. So you can see here, Viridian and Leicester are already picking up their green thing. This is what they do in Mythic. But I'm not there yet, in fact. In fact, I got debuffed, which sucks. Then I was late. They had already gone back. You can track the movement. Look at this. So you can see Leicester and Viridian maved it over to their platform. All right, so let's watch it again. You can see they go over. I was late. Usually I'm perfectly on time. It was just on this occasion. But you can also show that on wipes as well. It's pretty cool. So I go over, get mine. Leicester and Viridian get over there. I join them. And then we went on to do that. So you can show that. You can say, well, you can see from the logs here, if you go to this link, you can actually watch that my guild asked me to do that. And then you can manipulate that because you can volunteer to do it. And we're going to talk about volunteering very soon, but you'll be like, well, I don't get assigned to do that. Don't worry. You can volunteer to do this stuff in order to get results like this where you can show off. Not only that, what we can then do, obviously, so if we come back here, it's quite hard to see the guy there. Vulcanar, there you go. What we could do is if we go to, let me find one that makes me look better, is actually see what's going on with ads. Because for me, the way I tackled this fight, and this is something, again, that you can walk into a guild by saying, is the way I tackle this fight is I don't care much about boss damage here because it's pretty much irrelevant. The boss damage on this fight actually just speeds up the rate at which you go to these. So what I do is I save my coolies to... Where is he? Vulcanar. I save my cooldowns to blow these dudes up. So you can see Harambe beat me there. I was second on them. Let's go to the next one. Whoop. There we go. Over we go. And we start DPSing him. Yeah, he's nearly dead. He's nearly dead. He's under here somewhere. And you can see there, that's what I do. And how easy is that to show people? Super easy. All I have to do is scroll through the fight and I can watch when we got over there. And actually track through what's going on super easily. And then we go to the last one. And then you can say things like, well, I like to save my cooldowns for the boss. So you can see the boss is over there. Is this the boss? Looks like the boss. We can click it here, actually. It makes it much easier. It's actually on the side. So we can take it down to like 2%. Click on it. You can see that's what I do there. And it's all very easy to pick up. It's all like 2 minutes to pick that up and show things like that off. So wherever you've got a task, all this information is readily available, and to be able to use it, and you can manipulate it by volunteering and doing things like that, and showing what you think is a priority and why. And there's barely anybody on the planet who's... Because most people won't know how to get this information themselves, which is always funny. Like, people... See, I'm like a terrible mage, according to here. But you can see my ranks go from 99% all the way down to 40. Or 25%, depending on what I'm doing. But my job on ENR the Lifebinder... is actually to pick up the... If you don't know about Mythic ENR, by the way, is it here? Yeah, Defensive ENR. Let's go to a replay. I'll show you this. Is to actually go and do the Paraxis. You have to go to the Paraxis in this fight. Is this the Paraxis? No, it's the Destructor. It's the first time I've looked at this. Is this it? Oh, yeah, Paraxis Inquisitor. There he is. Oh, yeah. That's pretty funny. So what I do here is I actually go to the Paraxis and I deal... Where... I'm trying to find it. I'm not sure what time we go up. Final Doom. Inquisitor. Yeah, you can see I go to this and I get the red debuff for the remainder of the fight. And I deal with that through the whole way. And what this does is it throws you up in the air. So if we went over to Analyze and I clicked on me and the debuffs, you see I get this Essence of Burning Embers, the Burning Embers feedback for most of the fight, which throws me up in the air. Not that ENR is a great example of damage either way, but you get the idea. Is it like you can show this stuff very easily? Because all I did there was click me, click debuffs. I showed, yeah, well, I was given the job of doing this, and that's why that's the way it is, right? And it all makes sense, and it all flows into place very easily, and it takes you seconds to pick this stuff out. Absolutely seconds to pick this stuff out. So I don't want anybody to be freaked out, because you guys should now have the confidence to be able to go, well, look, this is how this works, and use it to your advantage. Anytime anybody tries to call you out, you say, well, okay, well, let me show you what's actually going on, because you're too much of a noob to figure it out. And actually, this stuff is really easy to find out. I want you to go away with that mindset. I want you to have that mindset, is that this isn't to be scary, because a lot of people find this scary, that they're being tracked and watched and stuff. But the fact is, the people who are tracking and watching aren't doing it to catch people out. That's not why they're doing it. They're doing it in order to make things and improve things. They want to figure out who's not helping out on ads. Why aren't you helping out on ads? Why aren't you saying anything? What can we do to make this better? And this is what guilds do in order to improve things, is to look at wipes and figure out where the problems are. What's happening? Who's doing what, right? Very simple. Who's not in the right position? So you might have something like Kingaroth where we have to move as a group, right? So we all do the ads, then we all gather up, and you'll watch as all the raids sort of... See the way... Look at how we gather up here. And then you might say, oh, what's Zellion doing? Oh, he's got Death from Above, which gloriously in Blizzard fashion puts him behind the boss. And he has to run... I didn't know Zellion was doing this. This is really funny. So Death from Above for the rogues, actually... I wonder if we could watch this, actually. Well, let's watch this happen. This is really fun. So... It'll be round about... There's the ads. We go and kill the ads. Then we all gather to finish this last ad. And then we all gather up. And we're going to see Zellion just appear on the other side of the map when he casts Death from Above. Are you ready? There's our tanks doing jobs. Whoa. Oh, there he is. Oh, feels death from above, man. Feels death from above. And then he has to run his ass all the way back. And then the other rogue does the same thing, and then they have to gather. Oh, so it looks like it's maybe considerable. It's not a DPS improvement. It actually doesn't cost anything. But it looks to me like Matumba uses it when we move. He actually, I don't know whether that's intentional or not, but it looks like he times his so that when we have to move around the boss, he actually death from above. Whereas Zelian uses it on cooldown, obviously, or when it's more appropriate. But it looks like Matumba uses it to come to us. So we actually run to Matumba, whereas Zelian runs from here to us. My boy Matumba, he does it when we all run to him. Interesting. I mean, it doesn't change anything because obviously they're melee. They're still hitting the boss regardless. But you can also see who's not moving out. So I like this where it shows the debuffs. And it'll show you when you're getting targeted by things that you're supposed to spread out for. And all this kind of stuff, because it shows them as little icons underneath the characters, and you can watch who's going to the right place, because once again, as you can see, as the decimators die on the right hand side of the screen here, I'm just going to move us to here, we can actually see who's doing what to which, who's doing the most damage to ads. Is somebody not doing enough? Yeah, you see me, Toei, Javi a little bit less. The Warlock's doing a touch less there than everyone else, but the Warlocks, you see Cloggy's over here with Viridian, and you can actually see Repwat moving over to the boss. This boss is on 13%, shooting across maybe to help out because this ad's too high. You know, this one's on 5%. We can see who's moving. And this is how you track it, is like who's moving around. This is very easy to check and talk about and figure out where maybe issues occur, or it's people lagging behind. I tend to lag behind a little bit. I tend to hang on until the very death of an ad. I wonder if we can actually see that here. I'm going to be... I'm there. Let's get back to where we want to be. Ooh. Isn't this cool? I think it's awesome. So we can see the ads dying. And then we watch. Oh, no, I'm not too far away. I mean, for a mage... oh, it's me and Toei. So I actually went relatively quickly there as the ad died. And we can see maybe who's moving and when are they slacking behind, and who's using what when. And we can click on them and get their abilities, what they're casting. If we click here, you can see Toei is casting Scorch on the move for a movement speed increase. And we can actually see people doing this. And I love this. I think this is so easy to do. It takes a couple of seconds, and you can present this or use this information. You've probably thought of a million ways of using this information while listening to this video. So there you go. That's a brief look at logs that I always look at. I would suggest if you ever get some free time, right, and don't be intimidated by this stuff, because you can use this to make your life so much easier. That's the point. Is mess around with it, because you can't fuck it up. You can't change anything. It's a log. And you can look at all kinds of things, like who died to what, break it down. So Evans died to Forging Strike. Why? What happened there? What happened with the tanks? Did he stand on top of the tank or something? Those kind of situations. Did somebody die? We had a death. All these times. It's very... what I don't want to do, actually, is go through this log in too much detail, because people start picking on members of my raid, and I don't enjoy that. That's not why we're here. We're just here to look at me. Let's look at me, because that's... You can all bully me all day. We can look at debuffs and stuff like that. It's so easy. Interrupts, dispels. Did a fight require interrupts? You can check that individually and see who interrupted when. Because they... Which fight requires interrupts? It does. I can see I did one interrupt there, but we could check interrupts all the way along and see when these interrupts were taking place. Who was interrupting when? When did we wipe? The spell wasn't interrupted. Who was there? We could check the replay and see exactly who was there at the end of the fight, right? We could see who was where and who was doing what. Were people in the wrong position? It's so easy to figure out because everybody's here. It's all obvious what's happening. It's all very, very clear. So... I hope that doesn't scare you too much. I want you guys to not be afraid, but in fact embrace this as such a useful way of making your life better in WoW. You're paying monthly for the game. Make your life better. These tools are all available. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your logs. Bye-bye.